Long after the American Civil War ended, with General Robert E. Lee's surrender to Ulysses S. Grant at Appomattox Courthouse, there were still American citizens who defended the Confederacy in public. The phenomenon was known as the Lost Cause because it was created by losers, for losers, and was about losers. Losers like famous Confederate generals, whose history was rewritten to portray them as dashing gentlemen, wily and daring commanders who always outfoxed their Yankee foes. Their mistakes, failures, and role in the institution of slavery was pushed into the background, while their victories on the battlefield were emphasized and often exaggerated. And if they didn't achieve victory, they'd be praised for their tenacity. They were often known by affectionate nicknames. There was Bobby Lee, Thomas Stonewall Jackson, P.T.G. Beauregard, known as the Little Napoleon. Their devotees would continue their defense of those long-dead men well into our modern era. But theirs wouldn't be the only lost cause. For after the Second World War, there was another cause lost, and new losers to idolize. This new mythology brought its own pantheon of commanders, German generals who had nearly conquered Europe with a new, superior method of war called blitzkrieg. Like those rebel generals, so too did those new losing commanders have their affectionate nicknames. There was Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox. There was Swift Heinz Guderian. There was Walter Model, the firefighter. There was Erich Manny von Manstein. There was Gerhard Old Pruneface von Rundstedt. And Flat Top Franz Halder and Septic Tank Dietrich. Now I've got to admit, I made a few of those last ones up, but it don't really matter none, because the truth is, I'm high right now. Anyway, after the war, those who survived would write their memoirs and give their own version of events. They cast themselves as innovative, indispensable, masters of warfare. And if they failed to achieve victory, it was only because of their meddling political leader, who conveniently happened to be dead. And also he was Adolf Hitler. And of course, their admirers would insist that they had little to nothing to do with all that unpleasantness associated with their leadership, for they were apolitical and merely following orders. Some of their biggest advocates would claim these men developed a superior form of warfare, one which could almost magically defeat larger, more powerful armies with fewer resources and indeed without even seeking the enemy's destruction. These men, some of whom had never served in the military, would dazzle some of America's officer ranks with their theories, to the point where some officers began to complain they needed a German dictionary just to read the latest publications because authors couldn't stop dropping words like Auftragstaktik and Schwerpunkt left and right. But in time, old Cold War opponents would fall, archives would be opened, and as it would turn out, nearly all of them were full of shit.